everybody's favorite Kentucky back on the road now. I think after back-to-back home games, if I'm not mistaken. South Carolina is getting 5.5 now. This too was 4.5, now 5.5 here. Vino. So the Kentucky money starting to come in. If South Carolina can make free throws, they'll be in good shape. What do they do here tonight, Vino? What's going on in this game?
Some of that Kentucky money probably going to be mine, Joe. You're right. It's been pushed up, open 4, now 5.5. There's some context we can find in this game, though, because Kentucky's couple of road games that they've played in SEC competition were against strong offensive rebounding teams. That's South Carolina is kind of a snail's pace and strong offensive rebounding team. And the two that Kentucky faced on the road so far, Florida, who's number 2 in offensive rebound percentage in SEC play. Kentucky went there as a 3.5-point underdog early January. They win the game 87-85. They turn around the next week. They go to Texas A&M, who's the number 1 offensive rebounding team in the nation. Triple overtime, they lose 97-92. So there's a couple of comparable teams right there as far as the offensive rebounding is concerned. Like I say, South Carolina, the team they played tonight, is 4th best at that in SEC play. UK didn't do bad against Florida, to tell you the truth. Florida had only 11 offensive rebounds. UK had 32 defensive, so they didn't give them a whole bunch of second chances. And the overall rebound margin was only -3 for Kentucky. It's the A&M game where it's really skewed, Joe, and it's because Aaron Bradshaw, the starting center, he picked up 4 fouls like before the opening tip-off. He played 6 minutes of a triple overtime game because he had 4 fouls immediately. And with that being a problem, the backup center only played 15 minutes, which made the team extremely small for the remainder of the game. And they got crushed by A&M on the board. So, if Bradshaw gets into foul trouble tonight in the first 6 minutes, the same thing could happen, but he didn't do it against Florida, and he's been pretty good as of late. So we'll see. I think Kentucky can hold their own in that particular category tonight. South Carolina has some differences between what A&M is and what Florida is. First off, South Carolina can't go up and down the floor the way Florida can. They can't keep pace with Kentucky the way that Florida could in their game. And they're just not as, for lack of a better term, let's say ferocious on the boards as A&M. A&M's the best offensive rebounding team in the nation. And while South Carolina is good, they're not that. So I think that if you look at what South Carolina did when they were faced with a team that plays extreme tempo and has great offensive efficiency, that team was Alabama. Game was on the road, but the final score was 74-47. Never even close. 47 points scored by South Carolina. So I think if you sum all that up, you'd say this. If Bradshaw stays on the floor and plays his usual 25, and then Onyenso can come in and play his backup 15, Kentucky will be fine. Their tempo is probably way too much for South Carolina to keep up with. Their offensive efficiency, I think they're 4th best in the nation, way too much for South Carolina to keep up with. And Kentucky doesn't turn the ball over. You can't even get easy points against these guys. So at home, they haven't been great, Joe. They lost to Georgia on this floor last week as 7-point favorites. South Carolina did. I don't know that they stay within 5.5 of Kentucky. I think the money move is right. So I'm going to play Kentucky minus the 5.5.
All right, Kentucky it is for Rob Vino.